over to Shantala Boss this morning, and she's, one of our frequent experts that we talk to when it comes to all things mental health and counseling. And she joins us again this morning. Good morning, Shantala. I'm excited to talk about couples counseling with you.
Good morning, Bridget. Yes, I'm glad you're back and glad to
Thanks.
talk with you about this. Is such an important topic.
Yeah, and it came to us by way of sort of some pop culture news. You and I both love our pop culture news. I constantly combing, and there's no shortage of those tie-ins to the celebrities and their health care. We had um, Princess Kate last week with her announcement with her health, and now we're talking about couples counseling, and it ties back into Taylor Swift and her boyfriend Travis Kelsey.
Exactly. Well, and just being remembering there are people too and
Mm-hmm.
seeing that we all have problems, we all have situations in life, and it doesn't even have to be an extreme problem or that you're at the verge of breaking up necessarily. And that's kind of what I was alluding to when I kind of brought this to attention was I think a lot of times what happens when we think couples counseling, we think, oh, they're about to split up. That's the end of their relationship. They're on the way out. But as we were talking earlier, it's really good to have that check in, that check up, because relationships go through a lot of ups and downs in life. And as we live together, we work, we have all these things, kids, stressors. A lot of times we build up assumptions in our head, we hold resentments, and we don't often realize sometimes we're feeling that way. We just have these things internally. Sometimes we avoid communication about it because we don't want to make it worse, or maybe don't want to deal with it at the time, but that's the worst thing we can do. And so that's why it's good to prioritize communication, counseling, having a third party kind of help us iron out some of that stuff.
And so there's different types of couples counseling too, because we look at it from a standpoint of like where you are in your relationship. So, a lot of times when couples get together, you normally first hear about the counseling maybe like for premarital counseling, whether it's with like a licensed counselor or someone in ministry. That's usually when it first comes up, right?
Usually, I think it's even better even before that if you're
Right.
considering getting engaged, because it's so important to have those conversations about what your expectations are for your marriage. And like I said earlier, we come in thinking one way and we don't even realize that maybe that's not what the other person feels or thinks. And these are conversations we don't always have getting to know someone. We're having those fun conversations.
Mm-hmm.
We're having those good experiences. Those are the honeymoon phases, and a lot of times I think we avoid those conversations because we don't want to push away all that fun and excitement feeling, but it's so important long term. So there are different stages and different types of counseling based on where you are in your relationship or your marriage. So even just finding out more about it, getting more information, and really prioritizing that in a relationship, especially in today's day and age with all the stressors that
Mm-hmm.
we're dealing with. In your position, in my position, with all the news,
Mm-hmm.
with all the things we're hearing, it's difficult, and we
Yeah.
need something to fall back on with our communication.
So we look at, you tune up your car, you tune up your air conditioner, but couples can also do sort of like tune ups. I know I've heard of, maybe doing a check in every year, if at the minimum, just to like kind of check in with each other in an organized fashion that way. Having like a counseling session every year, like, just like you do those other tune ups.
I think that's good. I think too, maybe one or two or even three sessions just to kind of, sometimes it's hard to get everything out in
Mm
50
hmm.
minutes or an hour. And if you don't have that regular conversation with someone else, it can be a little bit awkward. You can spend the session feeling, trying to break down those walls. So maybe it needs to be 6 or 7 sessions subsequently throughout the year. That would be more kind of what I would recommend, just because it's difficult to hit all the points within 1 hour, and things come up throughout the months, the years, that maybe you don't remember, or aren't really on your mind at the time. So having that consistency, and it doesn't have to be huge. A lot of people have EAP, employee assistance programs, through their insurance that offers 6 to 10 free sessions. So it's a really great way to just start those communications. And afterwards, you can have dinner, have a date night, make it something special, have the kids, get a babysitter. Those are really important things to prioritize relationships. I see so many people that come to the end of their marriage, and there's so much resentment, there's so much anger, there's so much stuff that's been pushed down under the surface for so long that they're unfortunately unable to get past that, and that's just so unfortunate. So being proactive is such a great thing, and when we see that in pop culture, I think it reminds us, wow, we need to remember to do that too. We're all people, we all go through stress, no matter how good or bad our life may be.
And you talked about how we might like the fun conversation topics or activities, but then like those harder things to talk about can be awkward. So that's where the third party comes in, because you can kind of help guide everyone and keep the field level, I guess.
So important. I was actually talking to my husband about this yesterday because he was saying, well, I don't really want to talk about that. But unfortunately, when you're in counseling, the therapist is going to bring it up. They bring up tough stuff, and not to be fearful of that, but that's why we're here, is to talk about the hard stuff in life and everyday small talk, fun
Mm-hmm.
times. It's great, but it's really important to have that. And so sometimes you do need a third party just to kind of get in there and kind of twist a little bit. Just kind of ask some of those tough questions because they are important. Avoidance is never good in a relationship. Communication is really key. We say that all the time, but it's so hard to practice in everyday living because tough topics are hard to handle. And
Right.
it doesn't have to be tough necessarily in our relationship, it could be externally, things going on in our world. So many things that stress us, that cause us to shut down or not communicate with our partner, and those can be very detrimental.
So how do you get two people to come together for that, or how do you approach that when maybe one person might be apprehensive and the other person wants to, but then you might see that.
Buy-in can be tough if one person does and the other, and I think a lot of times it's just explaining the benefits of it and normalizing it, and that's why I'm so glad you had me on today to talk about this, because it is a very important thing, and it's becoming more and more normalized to see a counselor, to talk about things. I think a lot of times people are fearful of counseling because it thinks this means this is the end of their relationship, or if they talk about these tough topics, they're going to split up. But that is definitely not true. If that is the case, you'll split up anyway, because these topics are going to come out. And avoidance only prolongs a problem and makes it worse. So if we can explain that to our partner and kind of also take their guard down, help them realize this is not attacking them, this is a neutral party. Also, I tell my clients, if you want to do marriage counseling, don't come see me, because if you're my client, you need to see a neutral party because I'm
Mm-hmm.
their therapist. You see somebody you both pick together that you both like and feel comfortable with, because a lot of times, sometimes one person will feel ganged up on, maybe if they
Mm-hmm.
go see the other person's therapist that they've known and built that relationship with. So you want that neutral party. That definitely helps a lot.
And so typically, is that what counselors do? They typically will steer their client to a separate counselor to help with like a couples or a family type situation.
Yes, that is definitely best practice. I actually have someone in my office that does couples. So I refer clients who are looking for that to him. And it's easy to say, I want to see my therapist, because you feel that comfort level, but it's so important to have that neutral person. But
Mm-hmm.
as we're human too, and we advocate individually for our clients. So we will have a little bit of a skewed viewpoint if we've been seeing someone for a period of time.
Right, right. Well, I love it. And I
Yeah.
love the idea that we can approach that topic in more of a, normalized fashion and doing it before things get serious. Like you said, even before engagement, not just after engagement, and doing it regularly as just part of, regular maintenance. That's a very good concept to, try to approach when it comes to couples and family life.
Yes, I think it's so important. We talk about mental health, we talk about, taking care of ourselves and mental health first aid, and being a couple is very hard, especially in today's day and age. So having that resource, having that outlet, keeping those conversations open, even if your partner isn't ready, continuing to talk about it and giving them that buy-in where it could help them and support them is so important.
All right, Shantala. Well, we're out of time, but we appreciate it. And of course, we can find you online and connect and set up sessions if we need to reach out.
Absolutely. My website, I'm Boss Wellness, and it's Boss Wellness LLC.
All
So,
right. Well, we'll see you
all right.
soon.
Thanks,
Thank
Bridget.
you. Have a good
Okay.
day.
You
All right.
too. Bye.
Bye. All right. That's going to do it for us. We want